Hey y'all, and welcome to the Diverse Minds Modern Therapy Podcast. I am Charles, and I'm here with
Cody.
and thank you for joining us. Some common questions we get from teachers working with neurodivergent children is, how do I stay calm when multiple students are dysregulated?
Ooh, excellent question. So I think off the bat, again, most of our solving the problem is getting ahead of it. I want to be proactive. And the first step to being proactive is an acceptance that these students are different. They learn differently. They present different challenges. And I'm going to have to teach within that framework for the remainder of the year. Oftentimes, our neurodivergent students or our neurodivergent children, their minds aren't always set up for neurotypical environments like a traditional classroom or a grocery store. I'm not going in trying to change their brain when I go to the grocery store. I'm not going in trying to uh, change their brain so they fit into this cookie cutter version of what I expect my classroom to look like. I'm going in with accepting that they may have I may need to come with a different approach, and sometimes their learning may look different. If I walk in with that acceptance, I'm going to increase my chances and the likelihood that these students are going to have success, whether that be in the classroom or as a parent and in the community.
Perfect. So going into the whole acceptance and commitment therapy model, it's not expecting perfection, but instead accepting that barriers or notches in the belt may come up,
Yeah.
and that's okay.
Resistance and creates growth. And as a parent or as a teacher, my job isn't to create a net zero behavior, right? Like I'm not expecting to eliminate tantrums or to eliminate aggression. My goal is to reduce that. And in order to do that, I need to increase my skills and make sure those skills are suited to the learner.
Yeah. I think with a lot of our teachers and parents, there's always this expectation or this perception that they want to come off as perfect.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it may have to do with wanting the classroom to fit this perfect mold.
Yeah.
So what would you say to teachers to help them support the idea that this is something that is age appropriate and typical, and how can they better implement that into their daily classroom so that these situations aren't getting so overwhelming?
Yeah, well, I mean, again, the phrase that I'm always telling teachers, the phrase that I'm telling myself when I'm in the clinical field is like, they're safe and they're learning. I'm every second of every day, especially for our little ones, is a learning second, is a learning opportunity. And if I lead with that focus, then I can hopefully stay regulated. And what I can observe is like just because they're having a tantrum or just because they're having a challenging moment, I can see this as an opportunity for growth, as an opportunity for learning, both myself and more importantly, the student. And if I lead with that consistently and I'm focused on skills that they can learn so the next time is easier or more successful for them, then I'm teaching. And I'm not just focused on the math and the academics, which are obviously very important, but I'm teaching root skills that'll serve them throughout their whole life. Again, whether they become an engineer or whether they're trying to sustain relationships as they're older.
Yeah. And I think one thing that's come up in a lot of our recent meetings with a lot of faculty and administrators is the social emotional learning piece.
Yeah.
So a lot of classrooms now are taking on the social emotional learning, but it's not actually embedded into their curriculum.
Yeah.
What are some social emotional skills that or strategies that we can implement in the classroom or at home to help support these tantrums, escalations, disruptions in the classroom so that they're less intense the next time?
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm thinking about our little ones. Like, those are skills that are maybe before they're developed, before they're consistent. Like, those are something that, again, all starts with the adults, whether it's the parents or the teachers. Like, what are your coping skills? What are your go-to moves when you're overwhelmed, when you're frustrated? When you're frustrated and you have everything at your disposal so you can listen to that meditative podcast, or when you're frustrated in the car and you don't have access to all those things, what are your go-tos? Establish that. Once you've established that, you can help your child discover what's best for them. Sometimes, again, just developmentally appropriate, they're going to need more hand holding. They're going to need more of your help. Other times, you can, as they get older, you can hold them to an expectation of like, hey, I know you're frustrated. You also have these tools. I need to see those tools before we can re-engage in why you're upset. Because I can't help you in this moment. You have to help yourself.
For sure. Okay. Yeah, so I think also with like student strategies, we have a lot of kids that don't have the ready to learn skills of like staying seated, using their words, asking for help. So a lot of times teachers or parents are trying to focus on just strictly the academics, but we
Mm-hmm.
don't have the base skills to get to the academics.
Yeah.
So what are some just student specific strategies for parents and teachers that we can recommend that are not necessarily quick fixes, but things that they could change or add into their daily schedule right now that could maybe help support teaching those skills?
Ooh, good question. Again, proactive approach is always the best. I love picking one morning, one circle time, whether, again, maybe it's circle time at school, or maybe parent, it's just like picking one 30-minute opportunity throughout the week and just focusing on social emotional skills. A lot of that can be in role play, like using dolls or toys to act out scenarios in which students have struggled in the past. Also, it can be using like personal examples that are relatable to the student, like, hey, I had a conflict with my friend at work. This is how I worked through it. What would you do? Oftentimes, if we're asking the question, these students know, and these children know a lot more than you give your credit for. And you're also empowering them because they're giving you the answer. And then you can help fill in the gaps if needed. So, again, I think taking whether it's like focusing every morning is SCL Tuesday, every Tuesday morning is SCL morning, where you focus on one skill and you practice and you role play and you relate it to specific situations you've seen students be challenged with. Or again, if you're a parent and you do that same thing, but it's like, oh, on Thursday nights we read social emotional books and we connect it back to incidents that happened with brother or with sister or whatever.
Yeah, and we're talking a lot about social emotional learning, but this could be as easy as setting an expectation for the following week in the classroom or at home, reviewing it and having them practice
Mm-hmm.
before we're in the moment.
Yep.
So just so that they're aware and ready, so that we can
Yep.
start adding more responsibilities.
And then creating those touch points too during transitions. Okay, we got in the car, we're buckled. Remember, we're off to grandma and grandpa's. Like, what are we going to do when we see them? What's something we want to do that's respectful? We can help grandma with the groceries, or we can help grandpa, fix something, whatever, setting
Yeah.
this expectation. Same thing with teachers in the classroom. Okay, we're in line, we're headed outside. Recess is really fun. Wait. Before we get to recess, what does respect look like when we're playing kickball today?
Yeah.
Then three hands raised and we're out the door, we're having fun. After they come back in, after they hang out with grandpa, making sure we reinforce those things that we want to see by some sort of celebratory action or phrase.
So circling back, I want to get back into addressing a situation when you have multiple students or your home, multiple people in your home are dysregulated.
Yeah,
How are we addressing that in the moment when there are more than one situations happening
yeah,
that can't all be addressed in the moment by
yeah,
one singular person?
yeah. Good question. Challenging scenario. Again, it comes back to starting with acceptance. So like, sometimes this is going to happen. My partner leaves on a business trip. Like, the expectations for myself and my kiddos are a little bit different. Maybe one of my teaching team members is out and I have a sub. Those are going to change expectations, but there is a lot of acceptance to what might happen because of the change in that environment. The other thing too is obviously we want to focus on us staying regulated when we see our children or our students dysregulated. That phrase that I used earlier that I really love is like, okay, I've identified they're safe. Now they're learning. How do I want to teach them in this moment? What actions or even a lack of action teaches them the goals that I'm trying to help them be successful with?
I think we also want to be careful about where we're placing our energy. A lot of the
Yeah,
times I see a lot of reactions to things where it's like this could be a learning opportunity, take a step and
yeah,
wait. Once they're calm, then address it, have
yeah,
them practice.
yeah,
So I think a lot of times we're feeling the overwhelm because we feel like we need to address every single situation or every
yes,
single student
yes.
individually at that time. But sometimes it's actually better to pause, take control of what you can do in the moment, and then come
Yeah,
back to it when you can practice
yeah.
in a more calm time.
When in doubt, less is more sometimes in those high dysregulation moments across when that's happening with students or with parents. Oftentimes I see, like, again, we've assessed that these students are safe, we've assessed that the children are safe. Immediately I see parents step in. There's Take your time, regulate yourself, gather yourself so you can make an impactful choice. When we do have two students or two children that are dysregulated, obviously this is when we can call in for help from our assistant teachers or a parent. If those things aren't available, like let's say we're on the playground and we don't have another teacher present and we need to address the situation immediately, or we go to the park as a solo parent and we have two kids and they're dysregulated, we want to try to do our best to, again, after we stay calm, separate them, what we know is like a dysregulated parent generally can't help a dysregulated child. Same way, it's really challenging for a dysregulated child to regulate if there's another child that's dysregulated. Not only am I working through the situation of the reason that I'm upset, like maybe someone took my toy, but then I'm also working through the overstimulation of someone else being dysregulated and that person modeling a behavior that doesn't support my current state. So focusing on the best way of like, how can I help them, give them some space? Maybe I use my body to step in between them. Maybe I'm holding them hands out here. And then how can I model and start prompting those needed coping skills?
For sure. And I think one thing that people tend to overlook or forget is that children thrive and feel safe from consistency.
Yes.
So having a schedule, having visuals for the schedule. I know in the classroom, a lot of classrooms have that, even adapting that to home. It could be on your fridge with magnets, but having a consistent schedule, and then if there are changes to the schedule, letting them know in advance,
Yeah.
so that it can be addressed and set them up for success moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on kind of from that question, we have a lot of parents and teachers that come to us and feel overwhelmed or impatient during transitions or noisy times or less structured times in the home, at school, etc.
Yeah.
So what would you say to those parents, or how can we set them up for success in those situations?
When it's like overwhelming, like noisy.
So think about like you're at school and there's an assembly. So it's like chaos. Like
Yeah.
you have to get them all ready. They don't know where they're transitioning to. It's something that's
Yeah.
not normal for the schedule. Or like
Yeah.
at home, like you said, dad, mom, whoever is gone, the nanny's sick. You have to go take this kid to soccer practice. This kid has piano lessons. This
Yeah.
child. How are we addressing all of these changes and these transitions during times when maybe the children are not listening to us?
Yeah. Again, the annoying answer is creating as much predictability as possible and prepping that. Like, again, I want to prep myself of like, okay, what are the supplies I need? How can I make them successful? What do I need to reduce challenges? You know, like I know Charles needs a snack on his way to soccer practice. So like that's something that I want to
And
focus on
does.
prepping. Otherwise, we're going to have a meltdown. Like, what are the things that I need to do to help myself stay regulated, but also increase the chances that my kiddos are going to have success. And I want to focus on that. And again, maybe it's a visual that helps me out. Maybe I'm planning ahead and like teaching the kiddos to take more ownership of that. Of like, hey, do you have your snack pack? Like, hey, maybe we're going to practice packing our soccer bag because that's a skill I want you to be responsible for. That takes a little bit less off my plate, and that way I can focus with sibling who needs a little bit more one-to-one time.
You're also empowering them because it's something functional that they can help with. So
Yeah.
I think with that as well, we can't always prepare for these moments of chaos. But I think one thing I've been recommending to parents a lot lately, or teachers, is having like an emergency kit. It's like quick activities, even if it's like a list or supplies that if something comes up or something's crazy, it's like you can pull something out of your bag of tricks and just address it in the moment, or have something to do to support or distract, help with. So even if you're not prepared for the situation itself, you have at least something to help support the situation.
Yeah. What's your go-to like Rolodex of activities if needed?
Yeah, and again, having that Rolodex, ChatGPT, hit us up. I can also let you know, but iPad is something that a lot of parents are turning to, and I know that's not always the best option. Sometimes it is necessary. We don't want to deter parents from using that or make you feel bad for using iPads, but there are other options in those moments to help with the whole situation.
Yeah.
So we have some other additional questions about feeling mentally foggy after a situation where a child is escalated or something didn't go the way it's planned for either parents or teachers.
Yeah.
How would you say to address that? I know going back to ACT, we might talk a lot about breaks or like identifying what you're in control of, but what are some specific strategies to address brain fog?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the first thing, again, coming back to acceptance, is that recognizing that you might feel foggy because you care or because it takes a lot of energy to be a parent or a teacher. Like it's a healthy body response. It's a healthy signal that your body is sending of like, okay, by the way, that was a lot. You might want to do something about it. Not only in this moment, slow down, decompress, but also next time you might want to be a little bit more prepared. A lot of that stuff take practice. You know, we've worked in classrooms where we have high intensity friends. We have kiddos that present high intensity behaviors. Eventually, if you practice and you're consistent and the strategies you implement work, you start to build a callus, and that fog goes away, and you develop more stamina. We work with a lot of neurodivergent parents. Sometimes when we work with neurodivergent parents, and then we work with parents who have neurotypical children, um, the behaviors are far less intense. And when a neuro parent of a neurodivergent child sees that, they're like, "Oh, no big deal. I'm so accustomed and I'm so routine oriented in handling challenges like that that my fog or my stamina when working through those
Mm-hmm.
things doesn't impact me as much." Again, neither situation is better or worse, but the idea is that you do need some exposure to that. Your children and your students do need some exposure to those challenges so you can build those calluses, so you can work through, and those coping skills or those reactionary skills become second nature.
For sure. Do you have any like quick recovery tips for when that's happening in the moment when prior to those calluses being formed?
Yeah. Well, harder, I guess, when you're the adult in the room. But how can you like? Generally, my strategy is like change environments for yourself. Go outside, go for a walk, switch rooms, do something to distract your brain in a healthy way, so you can reset your nervous system and then go address the challenge. When you're the adult, you can't just necessarily leave your 2-year old and step outside, right? That's not going to be safe. So, what are ways within that environment that you can reset your nervous system? Or does it help if, like, okay, they're having a tantrum, can I pick them up and go for a walk and focus on the trees while I'm holding them and keeping them safe? Or get the sunlight for 10 minutes and then address the situation? Oftentimes, when we're changing environments to assess or change our nervous system, we're also modeling and helping the child do that too.
For sure. Okay, cool. So, in terms of responding when one child is shutting down, so if we have a situation at home or at
Yeah.
school or in the community when one child is shutting down or engaging in a tantrum and we have an audience.
Ooh.
So we have other students watching, we
Yeah.
have siblings watching, we have
Yeah.
strangers in the store watching. How can we address those situations or give some positive, strong
Yeah.
tips to
Yeah.
support?
Yeah. My favorite question. We've asked all day. It comes to, we've talked a lot about acceptance today, right? And
Yeah.
individual acceptance, and understanding that, again, we're not here to eliminate these situations. We're here to reduce the likelihood by teaching skills. I want to take that idea when we have students observing another student having a meltdown. I want to create some acceptance there. If I see a student showing interest or showing concern of another student having a meltdown, that's a really healthy, that's a pre empathy skill. That's a really healthy thing for them to
Mm-hmm.
do. I'm not wanting to punish that behavior because I want to encourage it. Now, I want to encourage it within reason, and I want to encourage it respectfully. And one way to do that is create a whole classroom of acceptance to identify Charles' brain works different than my brain. My brain works different than another teacher's brain, and all of our brains are awesome. I love a classroom mantra like, my brain is unique, my brain is smart. I do it in my own way, and that's the best part. The reason I love that is because it's something that we can repeat. It's something that's positive. It's something that identifies we all learn in a different way. I have to wear glasses to read. Charles may have to take a break sometimes during circle time in order to engage in the songs. Neither of those are wrong. Both of those present opportunities to learn and growth, and that's the goal of our classroom. Sometimes that mantra can also help when my friend is being too interested in another friend having a meltdown and it's becoming disrespectful. I can use that mantra as a redirection to focus on ourselves and to focus on our learning as that friend gathers themselves.
Got it. So I think a lot of parents that I've worked with have a lot of the self-deprecation, judgmental vibes from other people in the community watching.
Mm-hmm.
What can you tell them for the community situations where
Yeah.
we're in the grocery store, we're at the park, our child's engaging in
Mm-hmm.
tantrum, our child hits a
Mm-hmm.
pier, our child's
Mm-hmm.
crying for the Doritos?
Yeah. It's hard, right? Again, I want you to accept that, like, it's natural for me as a parent to have reactionary of like, oh my God, are they watching? Right? I think that's okay. All that is shaped by your learning history. All that is shaped by the culture and society that you live in. What I want you to remember, and again, be proactive about, is like, okay, I know that the toy aisle at the grocery store is really challenging. Because that's predictable, I want to consult my values so I can make the best choice with my actions and my thoughts and my words when that happens, right? Like, what are my values in that moment? And so what are the thoughts that I want to have? So like, okay, that parent is looking, but that's okay because I'm prioritizing my child. I know he's learning. Children are supposed to have tantrums when they're 3 years old. That's a healthy developmental skill. Also, maybe that person isn't looking with disdain. Maybe they're looking with curiosity. Maybe they're an educator. Maybe they're looking for a way to help. It's healthy for other humans to observe that and be concerned. And if they do have judgment, okay, what are the ways I want to lead with empathy, or what are the ways that I want to lead with my values? So those thoughts aren't impeding the actions that are working towards growth for myself and my child.
So replacement thoughts for all those negative self-deprecating thoughts. So
Yeah.
this is happening. It happens with every parent.
I'm learning.
I'm learning.
They're learning.
They're learning. The people that are judging probably don't have kids.
Yeah.
They don't know how to deal with kids. They don't know my situation.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Yep.
So pushing through to the last question that we have for today. We have a lot of thoughts and questions regarding when those situations arise. Should we be pushing through, following through, continuing the lesson, or should we be pausing, taking a break, giving the student a break, taking a break for ourselves? What is going to be the most beneficial for not only the student, the child, the parents, the teacher, but everyone?
Yeah, there's a lot of variables in that. Again, if it's something regarding safety, like there's no question we push through. More often than not, though, I'm going to say like, let's pause. No, let's not push through. Thinking about like a dysregulated teacher isn't teaching very well. Dysregulated students aren't going to be learning. So how can we reset and take 5 minutes and maybe do like a go noodle or a classroom dance or run in place or stretch, something to help them reset the nervous system so they can come back and be ready to learn. Other things I want to, as that's happening, I want to think about like, okay, is this a pattern? Like 30 minutes before lunch, I notice they get a little restless. Like, how can I start embedding and like take ownership of that and give them that space rather than waiting until they engage in the maladaptive behaviors and then I've lost them, right? And now I haven't just lost 5 minutes, but I lost a whole 30 minutes of instruction time because I wasn't proactive about it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think identifying those patterns and also the motivations for why they're happening are probably going to be two of the most important things in determining how to handle it. It's also a learning experience that helps you identify the skills that are missing. So you can teach them either one-on-one or in smaller groups. So that when you're in the big group, it's less likely to happen, or the students have more of the skills to address it. Do you have any final thoughts?
I'm just saying, you're not going to be 100% as a parent or a teacher. Like that is not the expectation. You guys are all human beings. You all have variables outside of the moment with these children that are going to impact your choices. Even the best of us and the strongest clinicians make mistakes in those moments on their off time. And so that's part of the acceptance process too. If you're over 80% with all of these really challenging moments, you're killing it. But if you have off days or you have off moments, that's okay. Those are learning opportunities both for yourself and the child. And it makes you better for the next time because your reaction is probably going to be very disappointed, therefore motivating you to make that change.
Yeah, for sure. And parenting and teaching are like two of the hardest jobs in the world.
100%.
Like, we don't always see on social media all of the struggles or challenges that are faced. People tend to share the positive things, but a lot of these situations are pretty common. As always, thank you for listening. If you have any questions, please feel free to DM us.
Just as a reminder, these episodes are meant to be educational and informative, not a replacement for therapy. If you or a loved one feel like you need extra support, please contact a local provider or DM us.